But let's get straight into that homework review and take a look at the team that I've highlighted to talk about today, and that is the Cleveland Cavaliers, because I think that they are primed to go on a little bit of a run when you look at the upcoming games for them, and then you look at kind of their efficiency metrics over, say, the last 3 weeks. Even you could probably stretch it further than that, where their offense, I don't think, is quite properly being captured in the markets yet in terms of just how effective they are and the potential that they have to still, I think, outperform their current output, which is kind of a scary thought when you factor in that their defense remains absolutely elite. It is the number one adjusted defensive rating in the NBA, and for good reason, the best half-court defense in the NBA. This team, for me, is probably the hardest one to work out in the playoffs. I think that if I had just looked at their metrics and numbers without taking into account, I guess, the youth and the inexperience in the playoffs, I would just assume this team would probably be favorites to come out of the East. But obviously it doesn't quite work like that in the playoffs. You do need to have some level of experience, not just on the court, but I think on the sidelines as well. I think JB Bickerstaff and the rest of that coaching staff are probably going to have some teething problems themselves come playoff time. But like I said, when you factor in everything else that's kind of happened for them this season and what they've managed to put together, they are absolutely elite. They're first in adjusted net rating. They are fifth in adjusted offensive rating. They are first in adjusted defensive rating. There's not a lot that this team can do better going forward, aside from just grow together and build on that chemistry, I think, in years to come. So they're certainly a team short term that I think is going to be a buy team. Like I said, looking at their upcoming games, they've got another game with the Brooklyn Nets where I think that they can basically repeat exactly what happened in their most recent meeting. There's no reason to suggest the Nets can make the right adjustments to trouble this team, I don't think. And then from there on, it's a pretty soft 4-5 game stretch there where I think that offense, like I said, can really get humming. And I think there's going to be a lot of value on taking their team total overs. A lot of their totals are going to continue to be sort of low 220s, high 2 teens, just based on how effective and efficient their defense is. And so that'll open up opportunity for a team total over. There might even be value on full game overs like there was in that game against Brooklyn recently, not just because of what they can do scoring the basketball, but I think, the fact that the markets are forced to create a number that is reflective of how good their defense is, it presents us some pretty good opportunities as a result to buy on these low numbers there. So totals will be a really interesting one going forward, but their team total in particular, I think overs is going to be bet pretty heavily and pretty aggressively last time around. So like I said, I jump into some of like their offensive metrics. If you look even just their season long shooting efficiencies, they're a top 5 team in terms of effective field goal percentage when adjusting for strength of schedule. Top 5 team in terms of rim percentage, which isn't surprising with Mobley and Allen being as dominant as they are in and around there. I think the interesting one is that they are sort of bottom half, I believe, right around mid-tier. So 13th in the league in 3-point percentage. However, their shot quality from beyond the arc is really, really, really impressive. So it's certainly fair to anticipate that 3-point percentage to jump up. Probably closer to that 37-38% mark, which, like I said, when you couple it in with the efficiency around the floor elsewhere, there is real potential for this offense to explode in the next week or two with some really, really effective and efficient numbers. So the Cavs, for me, are buy team short term. Their long-term ceiling, again, it's just really hard to figure out because I can't see a path where they make the conference finals. Certainly not the NBA finals. I don't think there's really a path for them to make the conference finals, just given they would have to get through most likely Milwaukee, it seems, in that second round. And they're just not quite there yet. But again, when you just look at raw metrics and numbers alone, everything tells you that this team is the best team in the Eastern Conference. So there's certainly one to watch. And I think I will be cautious in fading this team in the playoffs, even if it makes sense to, given the level of inexperience around that team as a whole. So Yeah, like I said, my homework review is just going to be buying on the Cavs, I think, this next week, looking at their next 4 or 5 games specifically, looking at their team totals over specifically as well. Hopefully, we get some really, really favorable totals there to take advantage of some over situations for the Cavs going forward, especially now that they are fully healthy. Like we said, and for me, my model, the biggest thing, like I said, is projecting a pretty big jump in 3-point efficiency, which if you get that with their low totals, they're going to clear a lot of these team total overs. So hopefully we can jump on at the right time for the Cavs, just as we seemingly have done in terms of fading the Sacramento Kings, who are now 0-2 straight up and against the spread since our last show, which was aptly named Fade the Beam. So I think that we might still be able to fade Sacramento probably for a few more games before they sort of find a level footing again there and fall back to their mean in terms of their offensive and defensive efficiencies.